Hi everyone. Now we are going to talk about the module 8, which is advanced topics and issues in IPRs. So I'm Hitesh Sharma, faculty ILM. So first we will discuss IPRs and competition laws. So generally the IPR laws and competition laws, so these are exactly the opposite things, because in IPRs the monopoly is promoted, because in IPRs the exclusive rights are given, whereas in competition laws the monopoly is not regarded good. It is it is better to have a competition among different players, and it is in competition law it is thought that the monopoly is not good, the exclusive rights are not good. So this is a basic conflict between the IPRs and competition laws. So but these two types of law must be applied in tandem with each other. So the second topic is the traditional knowledge. Now the traditional knowledge that we have, our rituals, our language, our community laws, our culture values, beliefs, songs, folklore, stories, proverbs. So everything that I have told you is our traditional knowledge. Now the problem with traditional knowledge is that the traditional knowledge is generally in oral form, or it is informal. Because of this approach, it is not protected by anyone. So what some people are trying to make use of, uh, unfair use of this traditional knowledge. For example, there was a patent filed in USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office. So that patent was for the wound healing properties of turmeric. So now the wound healing properties of turmeric, haldi, that is known to everyone in India. Almost everybody knows. So whenever there is a wound, so we use turmeric. So but somebody, he tried to patent it in USPTO, in USA Patent Office. So what Indian government opposed it, so the patent was not granted. But this is an example where people are trying to make use of traditional knowledge, which should not happen. So that's why nowadays what is happening, that different countries are adopting their own laws, their sui generis systems to protect their traditional knowledge. For example, China, Korea, India. So all these countries are trying to protect their traditional knowledge, so that our other IP rights do not conflict with it, and others do not make unfair use of it. So now we can talk about the enforcement of IP rights. Now the enforcement of IP rights can be done in India, because we have civil remedies, criminal remedies, which may involve imprisonment, civil remedies which may involve fines, and there can be administrative remedies as well. Then we can discuss the IP license. Now the licensing, IP licensing is generally, it can be patent licensing, it can be trademark licensing, it can be copyright licensing, it can be design licensing. Generally the patent licensing boasts of a huge volume, because in patent licensing the patents are licensed to a second party, and generally the technology in the patents that gets involved in these type of licenses. Second category is trademark licenses, which may involve franchisee agreement. For example, McDonald's or Subway. So all these big MNCs. So whenever there is a new store opening, so that store, first of all it's a franchisee, because there is a franchisee agreement. And second of all, the Subway or the Subway or the McDonald's, so they are giving that franchisee the right to use their trademarks, because in that store the Subway trademark or the McDonald's trademark, that is being displayed there. So it's a trademark licensing. At the same time, it's a franchising agreement. The third type is copyright licensing. So it can include musical works, artistic works, cinematography, sound recordings. So suppose there's a song in someone has a copyright over a song, so he can license the copyright of the song to any other one, so somebody else can use that song in some other movie. So there can be different licensing terms. So the first thing is the license can be exclusive or non-exclusive. Exclusive means that only that license holder is the only licensing, and there is no other, licensee. The other type is non-exclusive, in which there can be many numbers of licenses given by the licensor. Second term can be sub-licensing. So sometimes the licensor may give the licensee right to sub-license it. First, A is giving a license to B, but A is also saying that B can also sub-license it to C, D, E, or anybody. Third term is the commercial terms relating to the fees or the monetary amount involved with it. So it can be like royalties or a percentage of the sales or a one-time fees, or there can be many variations in this. And third is the ownership to the improvement made to the IP. So when an IP is licensed, so there can be some improvement in the way. After the licensee is working on the IP, so there can be some improvement. So who has the right over the improvement of the IP? Whether the licensor has the right or the licensee. So that can also be defined in the IP license. The third thing, then the another thing is duration of license. So what is the duration? Is it for lifetime? For example, if it's a trademark, it can be for lifetime, because trademark is perpetual. If it is a patent, so suppose 10 years of patent term is left, so is it for 5 years or 10 years or 3 years? So it depends what's the duration of the license. So then there are circumstances. What are the conditions in which the terms of the license will be violated and the license can be terminated? Then we can also include the applicable governing laws in the IP license. So which country or which state or which city's governing laws will be applicable to the IP license, and then what is the mechanism for resolving the dispute. So all these things can form part of the IP license. Now we will discuss FRAND patents. Now the FRAND stands for fair, reasonable and non-discriminatory. So the FRAND generally there are some patents which becomes standards. For example, Ericsson. So the company Ericsson has patents over 3G or 4G LTE technologies. So but now the 3G or 4G is the industry standard. So every mobile handset maker or every tablet maker, so they by default they include 3G or 4G technology in their handsets or tablets or or in their devices. So now the 3G and 4G has become a standard of the industry. So when it has become a standard and a standard setting organization, SSO, decides that now this technology is a standard, this patent is a standard, so then it's very, because if Ericsson has it, so Apple, Samsung, Lava or Micromax, so every other company would have to get a license from the Ericsson. So in this process what happens, that Ericsson can give licenses to all these companies, to any company, but because it's a standard, so it has to be in compliance with FRAND. That is the license terms must be fair. The terms must be fair and not be unreasonable. The terms must be reasonable from the perspective of monetary amount. and it must be non-discriminatory. It must not discriminate any company on any basis. Because if suppose some company is a competitor to Ericsson, so Ericsson cannot decide that I will not give license to this company for 3G or 4G technology. So there has to be non-discrimination. There has to be reasonable licensing fees involved in the FRAN license. So all these are related to the FRAN license, FRAN IP, FRAN patent license. That's it for this module. Thank you.